There's a photo on my mantelpiece. It's from our fifth anniversary. We're on a beach and David is holding me, both of us laughing like we didn't have a care in the world. I looked at that photo every single day, believing it was a frozen moment of pure happiness. But now I see the glitch. It wasn't in the photo, it was in my life. The happiness was real for me, but for him, it was just a role he was playing. This is the story of how I discovered that the man I loved, the man I built a life with, had an entire other world just 60 miles away. A world with another wife in another town. And how, when I found out, I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just told everyone. It all started with the glitch of a different kind. My phone had been acting up, not syncing my photos properly. David, always the tech-savvy one, said, "Just log into the cloud on my laptop, honey. It's all on there." He was so casual about it, so trusting. Why wouldn't he be? He had me completely fooled. So one quiet Tuesday afternoon, I opened his laptop. I typed in the password, the name of our first dog, Buddy, and I stepped into a nightmare. The screen was a mess of files. Work documents, vacation plans, the usual clutter. I found the photo folder and started sorting, looking for my lost pictures. And that's when I saw it. A folder, tucked away in a corner. It wasn't hidden, not really. It was just sitting there, bold as brass. The name of the folder was a single word, Oakwood. That was the name of the next town over, a place he traveled to for client meetings at least twice a month. My finger hovered over the trackpad. A client folder, I told myself. Of course. But a cold knot tightened in my stomach. Call it intuition. Call it a wife's sixth sense. Something was wrong. I took a deep breath, and I clicked. The folder opened, and my heart just stopped. It wasn't full of spreadsheets or business proposals. It was a life. His life. There were scanned documents. A property deed for a house on Willow Lane, Oakwood. The names on the deed were David Miller and Sarah Jenkins. My name is Clara Miller. Who was Sarah Jenkins? I clicked on another file. It was a utility bill addressed to Mr. and Mrs. Miller at the Willow Lane address. The blood drained from my face. I felt cold all over. This wasn't a mistake. This was deliberate. I scrolled further, my hand trembling now, and then I found the photos. The first one was of David, standing on the porch of a charming little blue house, the house on Willow Lane. He was wearing a sweater I'd never seen, holding a cup of coffee, smiling at the person behind the camera. It was a relaxed domestic smile I thought was reserved only for our home. The next photo made me gasp out loud. It was a wedding photo. David in a sharp suit, beaming, and next to him a beautiful woman in a simple white dress, Sarah. They were cutting a cake, their hands joined. The date stamp on the photo was from 2 years ago. 2 years. He had been married to her for 2 years while he was still married to me. I slammed the laptop shut, the sound echoing in the silent living room. I couldn't breathe. The room started to spin. Betrayal isn't just an emotion. It's a physical force. It punches the air from your lungs and turns your legs to water. I stumbled to the bathroom, sure I was going to be sick. David, my David, the man who brought me soup when I was sick, who remembered our anniversary every year, who held my hand during scary movies. He was a bigamist. He had a second wife. I spent the next hour just sitting on the bathroom floor, trying to remember how to breathe. The initial shock was like a block of ice in my chest, but slowly, as the numbness faded, it was replaced by a burning, white-hot anger. How could he? How could he do this to me? To her? Did she know about me? Was she a victim, just like I was? I had to know. I went back to the laptop, my movements now slow and deliberate. The grief was still there, a huge, aching hole inside me, but the anger was giving me a frightening clarity. I became a detective in my own life. I found Sarah Jenkins on social media. Her profile was public, and there it was, all out in the open. Her cover photo was a picture of her and David hiking. Her profile picture was a selfie of them, his arm around her. She had posts celebrating their anniversary, photos of them at family gatherings with her family. There was even a photo of David holding a baby, a niece or nephew, I assumed, with a caption that read, "So glad Uncle David could make it." He was integrated into her world just as he was in mine. I scrolled through her photos for what felt like hours. She seemed nice, normal. She posted about her book club, her garden, her job as a teacher. There was no malice in her face, no hint that she knew she was sharing her husband. The truth was even worse than I imagined. He hadn't just cheated. He had built a parallel universe. He was a husband in 2 towns. He had 2 lives, and I was only living in one of them. The scale of the deception was breathtaking. The lies must have been endless, so carefully constructed. The business trips, the late nights, the weekend conferences, they were all bricks in the wall of this second life. He wasn't just lying about where he was. He was lying about who he was. And in that moment, I made a decision. I wasn't going to be a secret. My pain wasn't going to be a secret. If he had 2 lives, I was going to make sure they both knew about each other. David came home that night whistling. He dropped his keys in the bowl by the door just like always. "Hey, sweetheart, what's for dinner?" he asked, coming to kiss me on the cheek. I turned my face so his lips met my hair instead. I couldn't bear the feel of his skin on mine. It felt like a lie. "Leftovers," I said, my voice surprisingly steady. "How was your day?" "Oh, same old, same old. Busy." He smiled, his perfect, easy smile, the smile of a man with a completely clear conscience. I looked at him, and I didn't see my husband anymore. I saw a brilliant, calculating actor. I saw the man who had looked me in the eye for years and promised me a future he was simultaneously building with someone else. The old Clara, the one who trusted blindly, died in that moment. The woman who stood in that kitchen was someone new, someone harder, someone with a mission. I served him dinner. I asked him about work. I laughed at his stupid jokes. It was the most difficult performance of my life. Every word felt like glass in my throat, but I said them. I wore the mask of the happy wife, and it was made of stone. Later, as he slept soundly beside me, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. I wasn't planning a confrontation. A confrontation would be messy. He would cry. He would apologize. He would spin a web of excuses. He might even blame me. He was a master liar. He might talk his way out of it. No, that wasn't enough. He needed to be exposed, not just to me in private, but to everyone, to his family, to my family, to his friends, to his coworkers, to Sarah. He needed to face the truth in a way he couldn't lie his way out of. He had 2 families. Well, they were all about to be introduced. The next day, while David was at work, my real work began. I wasn't emotional. I was a strategist. I methodically gathered my evidence. I saved copies of the property deed. I took screenshots of the utility bills. I downloaded the wedding photos, the family photos, the happy couple selfies from Sarah's profile. I created a timeline, matching his business trips to his posts with her. The evidence was overwhelming. It was a mountain of proof. I thought about Sarah constantly. What would she feel when she found out? The same earth-shattering shock I had felt? Part of me felt a terrible guilt for what I was about to do to her. Her world was about to be destroyed too. But I couldn't let that stop me. Her happiness was built on my broken heart. Her marriage was a fraud that invalidated my own. The architect of this pain was David. I was just the one who was going to turn on the lights and show everyone the mess he had made. I decided on my method. I wouldn't send an angry, emotional email. I would send a simple, factual dossier. I created a new, anonymous email address. I compiled all the evidence into a single, clean PDF file. No ranting, no name-calling, just the cold, hard, undeniable truth. Photos, documents, timestamps. I would send this to Sarah. I would also send a version to David's parents, to my parents, and to his boss. He cared so much about his reputation, about being the good guy. I was going to show them all who he really was. I chose the day carefully. A Thursday. David would be at work in an important weekly meeting. He would be trapped, unable to immediately run damage control. That's when I would send the emails. That's when the storm would hit. I packed a bag and put it in my car. I knew I couldn't stay in that house after the truth came out. The ghost was preparing to leave, but before I did, I was going to make sure the haunting was just beginning for David. The morning of Judgment Day, David was in a great mood. He was talking about a big presentation. "This could seal the promotion, Clara," he said, grinning over his cereal. "I'm sure you'll do wonderfully," I said, and I almost meant it. I wanted him to be at the very peak of his success when the floor gave way beneath him. He kissed my forehead and left. The moment the door closed, the house was silent. I felt a strange, terrifying peace. I walked to the laptop, my hand steady. I opened the anonymous email account. The 3 messages were ready, the dossier attached to each one. I took a deep breath. I was not destroying him. I was simply stopping the lies. I clicked Send All. Sent. There was nothing to do but wait. I poured a cup of coffee and sat at the kitchen table. The clock ticked. 10:05 a.m. His meeting would have just started. I imagined Sarah, maybe on her coffee break, opening the email. I pictured her face, the confusion, the dawning horror. I imagined David's phone, set to silent on the conference table, lighting up again and again with calls from her, from his mother, from his father. My own phone remained silent. He wouldn't call me. His first instinct would be damage control, to lie, to explain, to try and put the genie back in the bottle. At 10:42 a.m., my phone finally buzzed. It wasn't a call, it was a text from his mother. It was only 3 words. "Clara, I'm so sorry." I looked at the message, and I knew. The truth was out. It was no longer my burden to carry, it was now his to face. The unraveling was swift and total. I turned off my phone. I didn't need to hear the chaos to know it was happening. I had released the truth, and now I could let it do its work. Later, I learned the details. Sarah had called his office hysterical. His secretary had patched the call through to the conference room, thinking it was an emergency. He had to take the call in front of his most important clients and his bosses. The partners, who had also received the email, pulled him out of the meeting. He was fired on the spot for gross misconduct. He went to his parents' house, but they wouldn't let him in. His father had spoken to me on the phone, his voice shaking with rage and shame. We had no idea, Clara. We are so, so sorry. And Sarah? She changed her social media status to single that same afternoon. She packed his things and left them on the porch. The life he had with her vanished in a single day. David tried to come home to me that night. I saw his car pull into the driveway from the upstairs window. I didn't open the door. I just stood there, in the dark, and watched him. He sat in his car for a long time, his head in his hands. Finally, he drove away. He had nowhere to go. Both of his homes, both of his wives were gone. The truth had taken everything from him. I had done nothing but tell the truth, and the truth had destroyed him. In the days that followed, people told me I was strong. They said I was brave. They admired how I had taken him down. But I didn't feel strong. I felt hollow. The cold fire of my anger had burnt out, leaving nothing but ashes inside me. I had won. I had exposed the liar and reclaimed my life. But the life I reclaimed was different. The woman I was before, the one who trusted easily, who loved without a shadow of a doubt, she was gone. She had died the day she saw that wedding photo. I moved into a new apartment. I started a new job. The divorce was swift, thanks to the overwhelming evidence of bigamy. The court was not kind to him. I was free, but freedom felt a lot like loneliness. I had gotten the ultimate revenge, but it didn't fill the hole he had left behind. It just made the edges of the hole more clear, more sharp. I had let the truth destroy him, but a piece of me was in the rebel too. This is the part of the story about revenge that no one talks about, the aftermath. Revenge doesn't heal you. It doesn't undo the betrayal. It's just a different kind of pain, a quieter, lonelier pain. I don't regret what I did. In a world without justice, I created my own. I stood up for myself and for Sarah. I refused to be his secret. I am proud of that, but I mourn the person I was. I mourn my ability to look at someone and believe every word they say. The real victory, I've learned, wasn't in destroying David. The real victory is happening now, every day, as I rebuild my life. It's in the small, quiet moments when I realized I've gone a whole hour without thinking about him. It's in the slow, cautious process of learning to trust myself again. If you're listening to this and you're holding a pain like mine, I won't tell you what to do, but I will tell you this. Your peace is your most valuable possession. Don't trade it for the temporary heat of rage. The truth is a powerful weapon, but when you fire it, you must be prepared for the recoil. It will shake you to your core. My story had a just ending. David faced the consequences of his actions, but my story isn't about him anymore. It's about the woman I'm becoming in the silence he left behind. It's about learning that after you've let the truth destroy the liar, the most important thing you can do is let it rebuild you.